Hey there, Blaine from Current Automotive here, and as you can see behind me, I have our first Porsche Taycan. This is obviously very exciting for us. The Taycan is one of the biggest electric vehicle releases from the last year, and this is the first one that we've been able to bring it into inventory and to learn about with hands-on and get behind the wheel and learn what it's like to drive and to learn sort of all the interesting things that make it unique. I'm going to be getting in and driving it for the first time now, and you are coming along with me. And I guess what I'm looking for today is to sort of rate Porsche's marketing for the car. Their tagline in the lead up to the release was "Soul Electrified." Now, we reject the notion that electric vehicles don't have souls in general, but I do want to get a sense for what kind of soul this car has. Is it a lackadaisical sedan or a mean sports car with 4 doors? Let's take a look. So here we are in the Taycan. This is very exciting. It's going to be, well, first time driving any Porsche, and it's electric. So what a great way to start. It's really the best way to start, of course. We'll get the rest of my cameras turned on. Here we go. So we are out on the road now, and I have started us in normal mode. The Taycan has 5 different driving modes to choose from, as is common on most vehicles these days. You'll get a couple of different choices. The Taycan's options are range mode, normal, sport, sport plus, and individual, which of course lets you mix and match all the different settings. And just a couple of the things that you can change include the weight of the steering, the responsiveness of the acceleration or how much power you're getting. Range mode will limit your top speed to 85 miles per hour. And then there's also a setting for the Porsche Sport sound, which pipes in an additional heaping of electric noise into the cockpit to make the car sound a little bit better. I don't know exactly what that sounds like yet, but I'll be turning it on a little bit later and we'll get a sense for that. As it stands right now, the car is quiet. There is a little bit of motor noise like you get in many electric vehicles. I will say it feels a little more prominent. I'm not sure if it's coming through on the camera right here, right now, but there is a little bit more motor noise than I guess what you're used to be hearing. Just a very subtle whir up and down based on the speed of the vehicle. Something to note for sure is that the regenerative braking in this car, you know, obviously it has and is using regenerative braking, but it's not automatically on. So right now I'm not getting that one pedal driving experience. Right now it's driving much more like a traditional gasoline vehicle would, you know, gas, brake, gas, brake. This Taycan is the Taycan 4S. So this is the base Taycan. Not to say that it is anything like a base model car from any other brand. It's still got, you know, tons of luxury features, horsepower, and performance. The Taycan 4S specifically has just 522 horsepower. You know, it's not enough. Whoa. So 522 horsepower. The Taycan 4S base model comes with a 7980 kilowatt hour battery pack, but there is an option to get the larger battery pack that comes in the Taycan Turbo and Turbo S, and that has over 90 kilowatt hours of electricity available. And this car, even though, you know, the Taycan when it released and the range numbers were released, it was kind of mocked for having, you know, just about 200 miles of range. But something that's interesting is the display here shows far more than it's actually rated for. So on normal it shows 255, switch it down to range, it shows 263, Sport 249, and Sport Plus 243 miles of range. So it thinks that even in the most aggressive of driving modes that it would be able to deliver more than 200 miles of range. And this is kind of in line with owner experience and kind of like the mindset that the Volkswagen Auto Group has when it comes to these cars. They rate them a little bit conservatively, so that expectations are lower than what drivers are actually likely to see in reality. And I wouldn't be surprised to hear Taycan drivers frequently getting more than 204 miles of range on their cars. I have to say that so far, driving impressions have only been stop and go here and there, nothing too crazy yet, and it is perfectly fine. It's smooth, very comfortable to drive. The seats actually aren't as padded or as supportive as you might expect. It's definitely more of a sports car seat. But overall, it's quiet, it's smooth, just like you'd expect from an electric vehicle. And yeah, it's just a pleasant car so far. Oh, there was a little bit of lane keeping there, so it senses the lane lines, and the lane line just shifted a little bit to be closer, and it tipped me back to follow it. You know, I'm like very aware of the fact that I'm driving a Porsche right now, right? This is the most expensive, fastest, most powerful car I have ever driven. And it also has that Porsche badge on it. And it's just not something I'm used to, right? And I'm like distinctly aware of the fact that this car is getting attention. People are looking at it, checking it out. It's not just that it's a Porsche, right? But it's very aggressive looking Porsche that's different and new. And people, either they don't know what it is and they're interested in it, or they do know what it is and they get excited because it's the Taycan. What I just learned here, car does have a hold function. You have to push your foot all the way down to the bottom to get it. It was wanting to creep forward, a la an automatic there, until I pushed my foot all the way down on the brake to get it to hold in place. Playing with a couple of the different drive modes, normal has almost no regen. It's like 100% coasting. You put it in Sport or Sport Plus, and it does start to slow the car down a little bit more as you get off of the accelerator. But it's not one pedal driving yet. It's just subtle, slow you down a little bit. All right, we are coming up to a potentially fun road to drive on, so I think we'll kick it up into Sport Plus and we will see what happens. I was hearing like a humming noise, and sure enough, Sport Plus puts on a little bit of a humming noise so that you can hear, it almost sounds like a humming engine. It's very interesting. Oh my God. I don't know if that was a gear kick down or just me pushing it, but wow, felt it there. That noise is so bizarre. Spaceship sounding. Wow, it just doesn't run out of steam. It keeps going. So the regenerative braking, it's like its initial pull or initial bite of the regenerative braking feels a lot like the initial bite on other electric vehicles, notably Tesla, right? You feel it start to push you back, but then it doesn't keep going, right? So the initial bite on a Tesla sort of keeps going. It keeps that level of deceleration all the way down, whereas this is a much lighter coasting, and it's only really that first little bit of getting off the accelerator that the regenerative braking provides any real amount of deceleration. Wow. The noise is fun, right? It's totally fake, obviously. It has nothing to do with the actual sound the electric motor is making. But you know what? We'll give it to them, right? And Tesla gets away with having whoopee cushions. I think this is the sound. It's fake, but man, it's so fun. definitely adds something. You know, we like to hear sounds related to what we're doing, and that totally helps bring you into it. Wow. Yeah, it just wants to take off. It is super comfortable at higher speeds here. We're actually coming up to a fun curvy road though. Let's enjoy this. Oh my god. Wow, that just has so much grip. So the Taycan Turbo S is, or was, the fastest car in the world to 120 miles per hour. Porsche didn't talk about that, but if you looked at the specs, that's the number it delivered. Now this is sadly not the Taycan Turbo S, but it's still good. Alright, now these curvy bits are really the core part of this road. And something I'll say about it, you know, I come through here in my personal car every once in a while. I've driven this, obviously several times. And that this car feels way more stable at speed through here than anything else I have ever driven. It just feels so planted. Like I could do this at twice as fast as I'm going, and it feels like that would still be fine. I think second gear comes in somewhere around 40 miles an hour. But it's hard to feel, and it's not a sensation I'm used to getting, so I'm having a hard time like finding it. Honestly, I'm kind of thankful that I'm having a hard time feeling for where it's at, because you know, one of the greatest joys of electric driving is like the instant response, and having an automatic gearbox change gears for you often does not preclude itself to sporty driving. But this thing, wherever that thing is hidden, I'm having a hard time feeling it out. And there's no display or anything, right? Like there's no real need to display first gear, second gear on a car like this, like there would be in a traditional automatic, where what gear you're in is important and it's almost always changing. Here, again, I can't really tell exactly what the gearbox is doing, but the car is listening to me, it's responsive to me, it doesn't feel like I'm fighting it. So I guess I'll give them marks for that, because one of my biggest things about, one of the biggest reasons I dislike driving automatic gearbox vehicles for gasoline cars is that they just aren't very responsive. You know, it always feels like I'm fighting them. Again, I was looking for 40 miles an hour there, and I can't tell exactly where the gear change is happening. But wherever it's happening, it is not making a difference on like the responsiveness of the car and the acceleration. It is, you know, it's not feeling like it's slowing down or hindering the car at all, I should say. It feels, whatever's going on down under there, feels natural, feels appropriate, and the car drives great. Overall, I think that that's kind of how I'd rate it so far, is that, for one, just popping around the sort of stop-go driving, that's been the bulk of what I'm doing right now. It's been super smooth, super comfortable, absolutely fine, nothing wrong with it. But also not really, you know, it's hard for any car to stand out in that kind of stop-and-go driving. And honestly, the fact that I can't figure out exactly where to turn on full regeneration maybe gives points against it, because you want, you know, once you experience one-pedal driving in traffic, you really want one-pedal driving in traffic. Otherwise, when it got up to speed, the car feels way better at speed and cornering at speed than anything else I've ever driven. It's definitely better than the other Teslas, than Teslas in general. Now I know that some people will take issue with me saying that because this is a $100,000 car. Model S, even Model S hasn't been a $100,000 car for a while, although now it's going to be a $100,000 car again with the Tesla Model S Plaid version. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, this just feels super solid, super stable at speed, super responsive. We have a little test track I'm actually going to take it to now. I'm on my way to, and I'm really excited to see how it handles around that. So we are at the track, which it's the Naperville Auto Test Track. It's really pretty small. It's like a 1/3 mile loop, owned by the city of Naperville, and all of the car retailers around here pay like a fee to help with the maintenance and upkeep, and also to be allowed to bring their cars out here and take customers for test drives in this sort of closed circuit environment, which has a place that you can do a free acceleration run. There's some twists and turns so you can get a little bit of sense of a car's handling, and then there's like a hill and some rocks for off-roading and for sort of those really popular, obviously, like SUVs and off-road vehicles. So customers can kind of get a sense of that stuff before they purchase their cars. I come out here to record things and also to test drive cars. So we're gonna start here. We're gonna do a 0 to 60 back down to 0, and then we are going to do a couple laps of that to get a sense of how the car handles when driven just a little bit harder. So I guess we'll put it in Sport Plus. Feel that suspension drop. Wait for it to go. Car has started humming to let us know we're in Sport Plus, like the engine is on. And we're gonna go. All right, so that was 0, 60, 0, really quickly. It was actually, but it was slower than the car is actually capable of handling, because I didn't have to go full brake pedal press, and we actually got to 64 miles an hour before I slowed back down there. All right, kind of got a back stretch here. Wow. This thing is fast. And these curves are a little bit tighter, you can feel. All right, so this is going to be the more intense curve through here. Wow. I mean, this thing can just take these corners like nothing. The forces of driving were such that my camera mount got a little loose from the windshield here. Oh, let's try and fix this, huh? Well, this car is something else. We've done a couple laps of the test track now, and I mean, look, like I said, I've never driven a car I've never driven a Porsche, I've never driven a car this expensive or this fast or this purpose-built for track driving. And you know, I've driven Model 3s, Model S's, our e-Golfs around this track quickly. But the amount of speed and grip that this car has it's incredible. I like don't know what to say. It is almost frighteningly fast. Obviously there's not much runoff here. This track was not really built to be like a race track, but you know, still a chance to take some corners quickly, and the amount of grip that this car has and how solid it feels going around those corners is nothing short of incredible. And it's almost like impossible to imagine the Taycan Turbo S and how much faster it could go with significantly more horsepower and also that four-wheel steering, which is also supposed to make the car a lot more nimble. I mean, I'm pretty blown away by just how, like, you know, in your face that drive was, you know, especially when you actually got to unleash it and just, like, go for it. That was pretty incredible. So, yeah, Porsche, I'd say you gave your electric car a real soul. And I mean, I guess luxury cars have been doing this for a long time, and sports cars in particular. Even the 911 is a great example of it, according to what everybody says about it. I haven't driven one, but it's that, you know, 911 is both a great grand tour car, you know, super comfortable, super refined, very luxurious. It's got all of those features, but it's still an absolute monster when you put the pedal down. And that's the kind of soul that this car has. It's super refined, super comfortable, very easy to drive. But then when you put it in Sport Plus, you put the pedal down, and I mean, it was ready to, like, tear my face off. So, I don't know, A+ job, bang up job. That's great car. I'm really impressed, and I'm really excited to go and let my thoughts go and see what else I can write and say about this car, because that was a pretty incredible drive, I have to say. And I mean, the Model 3s and the Model Ys and the Model S's are all excellent around that little test track too, but there's a sort of a hidden beast here that was kind of like the Model 3 felt tame compared to this. Like, that's how this felt. Not like the Model 3 is a tame car, but I should say, like, its soul or spirit felt tame in comparison to what this thing just did. Thanks again for watching. If this car is still available in our inventory at the time that I'm posting this video, I will include a link to it in the description down below, and where you will also find a link to our blog called The Charging Post, which has all sorts of educational content about electric vehicles, educational and informational. That's what we do at Current Automotive. We sell electric vehicles, but we always seek to educate our customers first. Most people who buy electric vehicles from us are first-time EV buyers, and we want them to feel informed and confident about switching to the technology. So when they switch to an electric car, they never, ever go back to gas. Thanks again for watching, and be sure to check that stuff out if you're interested. Bye-bye.